grasping and linking thoughts, dancing in the circuitry of its brain, a kaleidoscope of emotions sprinkled with sadness and with pain, the pieces of too many different puzzles that he tries to fit together that don't fit, the fire in his mind that too many disconnections have somehow come to lit, the argument that he fights out that no one understands or cares to hear, the rage that rises up from within him that only results in someone's fear. He's at odds with the world. He's no longer fully part of the human race, resulting in the play of intense emotions that keep appearing on his face. He's the star of his own one-man play, and everywhere's his stage. He's been told to shut up so often that these words just bring out rage. He has a dozen different theories. He can prove the existence of a god. The people watching him give each other that ever-knowing nod. And on he rambles. He barely stops to take a breath. He says he doesn't care if his behaviors eventually bring about his death. He wants to talk to the world. He thinks they need to hear what he has to say. And on he talks through the night and through the day. The psychiatrist says he has antisocial personality disorder, and so he belongs in jail. And now I see quite clearly how many lives are just set up to fail. He now has a do not demit note attached to his hospital file. So I guess he's been found guilty, although he's never had a trial. And the reason why he's guilty is because of the confusion in his mind. He tried to look for answers, but there's not many he could find. He doesn't have enough information, so his conclusions tend to be wrong. And he doesn't have the time to do the research because he can't stop talking all day long. His mother doesn't make things easier because she's always on his case. And when he gets fed up enough, he gets up in her face. And he's mastered the angry look because he knows how to intimidate. And I think while he was in jail, he found far too many people to imitate. And there's no doubt that he's angry, and it doesn't take much to light his fuse, because he's made the decision he won't be another person to abuse. But he doesn't see he's become abusive, just like those he says he hates. He thinks he has a right to decide other people's fates. He has the ability to understand others, is egocentric to the extreme. For him, the reality of a situation is other than it seems, because it's only his reality, and his reality has been rocked by 30 days in solitary that caused all his memories to unblock. Everything he used the drugs to numb came flooding to the surface, and he felt the jail was torturing him, and that was their only purpose. And his emotional maturity was arrested when he was just a kid, and he thinks no one can notice because he thinks he has it hid. He tries to hide it under the posturing of a person that is tough, so he bangs and punches and stomps, but it never is enough. All he does is rev himself up as he paces around the room, and if he does this in the wrong place, he'll only spell out his own doom. And all the while the clock is ticking, and we can't find the help he needs. And all the years of growing up have only planted angry seeds. No one seems to want to understand how deeply he's been hurt, that the childhood he experienced buried his ego in the dirt. And now he's fighting back against the world he sees as cruel. He doesn't plan to give in or to be anyone else's fool. He's drawn a clear line in the sand, and he dares anyone to cross it. He's taken society's rulebook and he's decided just to toss it. He's screaming his rage back at the way that he's been treated. He doesn't plan to give up or ever be defeated. He's in for the long battle, but he's the only soldier in his war. And when you listen to him talking, it's hard to figure out what he is fighting for. It's clear he sees the gauntlet having been thrown down to the ground, and rising to the challenge is the only answer he has found. He doesn't see that nothing can be gained by directing your anger at another, that the only thing you'll succeed in doing is making an enemy of your brother. The strongest among us have never had to raise a fist, but they fought against injustice and they never would desist. That their weapons were their words, they didn't need a gun to win a fight. And the efforts that they made took us from the darkness into light. But he's too young to understand, and his first-person shooter games have him conned. He thinks he has the heart of the fighter, but it's his heart that has been pawned. thinks he's the stone cold killer he plays out in another Black Ops game. He thinks if he goes out and kills someone, he'll finally find some fame. Cause he's lived a life of the unknown. No one's chosen to get to know him. He never had a father to show him what he should have shown him. And so he's disconnected. He thinks he's meant to be alone. And all he has to do is turn his heart into a stone. But the wounded child inside of him doesn't want to die. He's begging for a chance to just break down and cry. He just wants to be held and told that he's alright. He's tired of living a life that amounts to one long fight. But he's afraid to reveal himself because he's been hurt one time too often. He'd rather die in a fight and be buried in a coffin. He's trapped in the nexus between his sadness and his rage, between childhood and adulthood at that very trying age. And you don't know if he'll make the transition. Trial by fire may take his life. He's lured like a moth to the flame, to the image of a tough guy with a knife. Caught between the need for respect and the desire for preservation. He tries to trust those who want to help, but he has too many reservations. He's developed a paranoia that everyone's against him. He feels the walls are closing in, like someone's trying to fence him. His mind keeps bending back to his litany of hurts. You manage to pull him out, but then he suddenly reverts. It's the nature of resentment. The person goes back to the same hurt to reveal. It doesn't matter how many times you shuffle the deck, it's the same hand they redeal. It's the dance of the mind between letting go and grabbing onto something new. It's that terrifying period where you're not sure what should be you. And it takes a long time to travel the journey from what was to what could be. And it's filled with uncertainty because it's not something that we can clearly see. And trust is a fleeting experience because it comes and then it goes. And one moment they see you as a friend and the next you are their foe. You have to be in it for the long haul until they can finally see that all you really want to do is help them be what they can be.